This video is brought to you by Reaper Apparel Company. Stay tuned until after the video to learn how you can save 10% off of your order.
Some states have
Oh shit, here we go again.
I'm just going to get right to the point here because I just finished watching some bits of the NASCAR State of the Sport address, and to say that I am beyond done with this company is an understatement. First of all, as you can see from the first news talk, and I'm not going to go through the usual song and dance and usual bells and whistles that you've been seeing on this show for the first 11 episodes. I'm just not in the fucking mood for it today. Because I see some of the shit that's been going on with this company, and it's just like, why should I even care anymore? So first of all, the judge presiding over the injunction in the antitrust lawsuit case has denied the preliminary injunction for 2311 and FRM as to run as charter teams in pursuit of their lawsuit. At this time, plaintiffs have not met their burden as required for a preliminary injunction. Should circumstances change, plaintiffs may file a renewed motion for preliminary injunction. This is from District Judge Frank Whitney. I honestly wonder if that motherfucker has been bought off by NASCAR at this point. It wouldn't surprise me one fucking bit, considering this company's shady ass fucking history. And then we have the State of the Sport address, and there were 2 points that I watched that literally made my brain melt. So I'm going to play those back to back. And that is the Steves talking about the playoffs and then their officiating. So go ahead and roll both clips.
Is the format, right? And we are always looking, if there are opportunities for us to tweak something, so be it. I mean, we're not the only sport where the best statistical team does not get to the Final Four or the Super Bowl or the World Series. So the format, there was a huge emphasis put 10 years ago when the format was put into place about winning, right? 3 of the 4 on Sunday, they won to get through. And I go back to the format itself, I think, creates incredible racing. So if we are all going to be honest and say, hey, how's the racing been during the playoffs in these 9 weeks? I don't think it's been ever better. And I think part of that is due to the system itself. They raced their guts out. They did. Tyler Reddick 2 weeks ago, Ryan Blaney last week, Chase Elliott trying to get in, Larson trying to get in, racing their guts out. And I think it provides great racing for our race fans.
And Steve, it's fair to say we've talked about this too. So the format is one thing, right? But playoffs, I think we're not going to go away from playoffs. So we read fans and everything. So we will, as we always do, right? And Steve's led us to this. We'll absolutely look at what form the playoffs take in the off season. You always learn, like I said before. But playoffs, in and of itself, as Steve said, you cannot argue with the quality of racing that the playoffs have delivered. You can talk about the format if we do some different things, but absolutely, we're going to stick with it.
What the fuck, man? Fucking dumpster fire. Fucking thing sucks.
Every year, we address those, and I think a lot of it is around technology, right? And a lot of it's around formats that you look at, and different things that come into play now. So, one of the biggest ones that we saw, consistently, right, was the damaged vehicle policy. Through really no fault of trying to, in essence, save the industry money, we created a challenge in terms of how we officiate. And so that's something we want to continue to investigate. And I think one of the biggest things you want to do is how do we continue to use technology in real time to notice what may or may not be occurring on the track, address that as soon as possible. But I don't believe we have an officiating issue at all. I think we have the best and the brightest in the business. Yes, we make mistakes. They're humans. Hopefully we'll never get to just AI making calls. But we will make adjustments. And I think if me or John or Elton or Steve are not up talking before the Daytona 500 about adjustments that we've made, then we haven't done our job, because that's what we always do in the off season.
Guess what? I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying?
You know, in the entire time that I have done NASCAR race reviews, I have held out hope that things would change with this company. But it's clear to me that even after all the controversy from last week, even after all of the outcry, NASCAR just absolutely refuses to listen to reason. And you heard O'Donnell say it himself, the playoffs aren't going anywhere. And then, of course, they say, well, we don't have an officiating issue. Considering how many times that you've had that jamoke, Elton Sawyer, come out and try to explain all the dumb shit that's happened this year in terms of officiating, it's pretty clear you do have an issue with officiating. They say, well, we're human. Yeah, but do other sports have controversial officiating at times? Yes, they do. But it's not an every other week occurrence like it seems to be in NASCAR right now. This company is so out of touch with its fan base, it's not even funny. I mean, honestly, at this point, it honestly feels completely scripted at this point. And here's the thing. If I wanted to watch a sport that's scripted, I'd go watch professional wrestling. And honestly, it would give me a lot more entertainment than this bullshit that I see every Sunday. You know, I'm just going to get down to the nitty gritty. This company is not worth your time or money. Because if they don't care what the fans think about their precious playoff format and say, oh, we're not going to change a thing, then why should we give a shit? Why should we even care anymore? You know, and I used to get so frustrated with all this shit that NASCAR does that it's just absolutely brain dead. But at this point, the only thing I feel is apathy. As an Amber Alert is going off on my phone. But, I just feel apathy at this point. I just don't care anymore. And I tried. I tried to hold out hope that things would change, but it's pretty clear that nothing is going to change as long as this nepotistic command structure is in place. So why should I even bother giving this company my time or money anymore? And I can guarantee you, there are thousands upon thousands of people who feel the same way. I would not be the least bit surprised if we saw a massive drop-off in viewership between this year and next year over this shit. Because there comes a point in time where you just reach your breaking point and you gotta say, enough is enough. And after this statement, I just don't fucking care anymore. Because if they don't care, why should we? If they don't give a shit about us, why should we give a shit about them? Because, I mean, they keep preaching that, oh, well, it's a legitimate way to crown a champion. The legitimacy of this company died a long time ago. This was just the icing on the cake. And quite frankly, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired of coming on to my review show every single fucking week and talking about how bullshit this company is. It's pretty clear that they don't care. They're just going to stay the course. They're just going to put their fucking heads in the sand and say, oh, nothing's wrong. This is exactly what I've been talking about for months. How people within this industry just try to tell you nothing's wrong, and they try to gaslight you into thinking, yeah, nothing's wrong. At that point, it's like, if you have half a fucking brain cell, then you would realize that this company doesn't give a fuck about you. Because if they did, all this shit would have been a distant memory a long time ago. No more playoffs, no more overtimes, all this other bullshit. But it's pretty clear that they just don't fucking care. And for a lot of people, people make hate watch a lot of times. And some people watch it to enjoy the racing, because that's the other thing that pisses me off about this is supposed to be an escape. This is supposed to be an escape from our everyday lives. And yet, it seems like more and more in recent years, especially this year, this company is starting to feel more and more like a chore to watch every week. It's just not worth it anymore. Because, well, yes, some of the racing in the playoffs has been good. A lot of that good is just wiped away from all this stupid, controversial bullshit. And NASCAR just looks the other way. Like, yeah, they penalized, the 1, the 3, and the 23. They fined them $100,000. Took away 50 driver and owner points and suspended like 3 members of their team for the race at Phoenix. What fucking good does that do, honestly? All you did was basically give them, a head start on their vacation. And all 3 of those teams, they aren't even in the fucking championship conversation to begin with. Not to mention the fact the 50-point penalty didn't do jack shit anyways. Bubba only lost 1 spot in the playoffs. Chastain didn't even lose any positions with the penalty. And, yeah, Dillon lost the most positions. He went from 28th to 33rd with the penalty. But he wasn't going to get into the top 25 in points anyway. So these penalties are literally worthless. They essentially let these fucking OEMs get away with murder. Because I've been hearing more and more that NASCAR, they're not in control of their own sport. They play third fiddle. It's really the TV partners and the OEMs especially that are in control of the sport. But you're not going to hear NASCAR say that. You're not going to hear all the NASCAR bootlickers say that. They're going to tell you everything is fine. Don't worry about it. Well, the massive amount of discourse from this past week seems to indicate otherwise. And I'm just going to be completely honest, to Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, Jim France, and everybody in the higher-ups at NASCAR, if you honestly think that everything is still hunky-dory even after everything that's going on, you're a bunch of fucking morons. You are in serious denial. And I honestly question your IQ. Because it's pretty clear that not everything is okay. Because if that was the case, then why is all this controversy still being talked about today? Almost a week after it's happened. And we're still talking about it going into championship weekend. And you've already made it clear the playoffs aren't going anywhere. So it's like, why should I even fucking bother investing in this company anymore? It's not worth my fucking time or money. So, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. The Phoenix Championship race this Sunday will be the last NASCAR race I do a race review on. Until there are wholesale fucking changes made to this company, I am done doing race reviews for NASCAR. I'll still cover NASCAR related news stories. But as far as doing race reviews, no, I'm done with that shit. Because if NASCAR is not going to appreciate the time and effort that I put into my fucking shit, then why should I give them the time of day? So next year, I'm going to start covering IMSA and IndyCar. I know a lot of people say, well, isn't IMSA owned by NASCAR? Yeah. But they are not run by the same people. Different entities run IMSA than NASCAR, because let's be honest here. If the people running NASCAR, the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, and Truck Series were running things at IMSA, then they would be putting all the stupid shit that we see in the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series into IMSA. We'd be seeing stage breaks and overtimes and playoffs and all that other dumb shit. So I'm glad that the people that are actually running IMSA are not caving into the dumb shit that NASCAR has perpetuated over the last 2 decades. And honestly, I've been enjoying IMSA a hell of a lot more than I've been enjoying NASCAR lately. I've actually been watching a lot of IMSA this year. And granted, you know, IMSA's had their kerfuffles as well. I mean, look at the Rolex 24 this year. They ended the race a minute and a half too early. So that was a pretty big kerfuffle. They're just lucky that there wasn't a huge battle for the overall win going on, like side by side like it had been the last couple of years. Otherwise, it could have been a lot worse. But look at Petit Le Mans this year. That was a fucking fantastic race. Ring of Venezuela made a great move on Nick Tandy, like with literally minutes to go, to win the overall race in the Petit Le Mans. And then you had the headlights go out with like 4 minutes to go. And then they started coming on and they were alternating back and forth. And it's just like, that was crazy. That was craziness. And IndyCar, I mean, yes, IndyCar has its problems too. Because there's like there's some people in charge over there that don't seem to know their ass from a hole in the ground. But at the very least, we don't see any of the stupid gimmicks that NASCAR has perpetuating all in IMSA and IndyCar. And yes, while both IMSA and IndyCar have their own separate issues, when you pile both of those leagues together and you compare it to the pile of problems that NASCAR has, it doesn't even compare. But NASCAR's not going to change a fucking thing. They're too stuck in their ways. And to that I say, fine, fuck y'all. Because, I mean, I'm going to be 40 years old next year. You know? Can you believe that? I'm going to be 40 fucking years old next year. I simply just don't have the fucking time or just the patience anymore to keep hoping that NASCAR is going to fucking change. You know, and it gets to a point where you got to say enough is enough. And I have reached that point with NASCAR. So this race, this coming Sunday, will be the final race review I do of NASCAR for the foreseeable future. Probably ever. Because if this company is so set in their ways, I will never do a race review again of NASCAR as long as they have the playoffs instituted. It's just not worth it. All I feel at this point is apathy. And honestly, that's the last thing that NASCAR wants to see from its fan base. Because if it starts to feel apathy, then their fan base is going to start declining in a big way. Of course, it's been declining, you know, exponentially since the 2010s. And while things may have stabilized, I mean, they used to have a pretty substantial audience, and it's a shell of its former self. And it's just not worth it anymore. NASCAR is not worth your time or your money. If you still want to follow this product and enjoy it and try to support it, all more power to you. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't have the energy or the patience anymore. Because it's pretty clear that NASCAR's not going to fucking change. And at that point, it's like, well, if that's the case, then I just don't give a shit about this company anymore. So, Sunday will be the last time that I do a race review on NASCAR. NASCAR related news I'll still do, but race reviews, I'm done with NASCAR. I mean, at this point, I don't even know if I want to watch NASCAR anymore. Because it just gives me too much of a fucking headache. At least with IMSA, it feels more like pure, unadulterated racing than this fucking bullshit we see on Sundays. That's all I got to say about that. Anyway, thank you for watching this edition of Burnt Rubber. And, see you Sunday for the final, probably ever, NASCAR race review on the field. Fuck NASCAR. Hey, what's happening, ladies and germs? This is the PackerMan letting you know that tonight's video was sponsored by Reaper Apparel Company. By clicking on the affiliate link down below in the description box, you'll be able to browse through many of their different wares, such as hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and other cool items. When you place an order and you go to checkout, be sure to type in the code PackerMan and you'll be able to save 10% off of your order. Reaper Apparel Company. Apparel to die for. Hey, ladies and germs, just want to say thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and also be sure to check out my second channel, Isaac the Survivalist. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.